Welcome to Authors Revealed. I'm Becky Anderson. I'm so excited. One of my great friends in children's book writing is here. It's author Tim Green. This is his 19th middle grade book for readers, for kids. It's called Baseball Genius, and he wrote this one with Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees. Well, Tim, it's always great to see you.
You too.
You know, and this book, I am so excited about this book.
Yeah.
And I know you are too. And it's already like a huge bestseller, and it's only been out like a few days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. It's only been out since Tuesday, literally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
so I want to know, and I know you probably already have done some school events, but what are your readers, the kids who absolutely love your book, saying about this one?
But this is maybe the best one yet,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is fun to hear.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, it's exciting. There's a lot of action. I think maybe for me, I feel almost like a kid with this because I love taking kids backstage, right?
Yeah.
Backstage in the world of the NFL. But my baseball books have been backstage at Little League, travel teams. And so co-authoring with Derek Jeter enabled me to go backstage MLB,
Right.
Yankee Stadium. So I was like a kid too.
Yeah, I
and
bet.
to meet Jeter was, the first time I met him was so exciting.
Yeah.
And I got to go to the place where he, lives. It's a secret place in New York.
Right.
And
Did they put a blindfold on you?
It was funny because they were expecting me in the front, and anyway, and there's a scene in the book where the main character, the boy Jalen, gets to meet Derek Jeter,
Right.
and so that scene is really me, the kid in me when I first met him, and the main character is struck by how just down to earth, kind, warm, smart. So
those were totally your impressions too when you met Derek Jeter for the first time too.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit how this book came about, because this is like your 18th, 17th,
19th for
geez,
kids.
19th for kids.
35th book.
Wow.
Right?
And and I think back on that pre-pub we did for your first middle grade kids book.
Yeah.
For Football
Genius. Yeah.
And that was like in 2006 or 2007, I think, right? Would that be
earlier?
Oh, yeah. Well, think about it. It's been over 10 years, and
12 years. Yeah.
So 19th. That's pretty amazing, Tim, to do this
it's
and so much. Yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's not work for me. I love it. I love speaking at schools. I love taking the speaking fees and using it to buy books for kids, schools, libraries who can't afford them.
Yeah.
I get tremendous joy out of creating readers.
Right. And
not just for my books, readers.
Right. Well, you always, and that was the great thing about that first time that I met you, and we did that pre-pub event before Football Genius was even on any bookstore shelf.
Yeah.
Is that whole message about not only sports, what you do for your body, but what you do for your brain. And you always have had this message, and it's really incredible. And because when you create those lifelong readers, I can't imagine how satisfying that must be.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a dream come true for me.
Yeah. So the book's got some great reviews so far.
Yeah.
That's
like
really, really exciting. But where did the seeds for this start to grow? Tell us how this pairing with Derek Jeter and you writing this book came about.
Call out of the blue, right, from someone in his publishing group who we had known and met years ago. a woman who went on to work at Sports Illustrated and is now part of his Players Tribune staff. And she said, we were in this meeting and they were talking about, Derek's imprint and the kids' books and how he wanted to do, more in that space. They have the Turn To Foundation. They dedicate so much time, effort, energy, money to educating kids. And I said, well, if we're looking for someone to team Derek up with, we should, Tim Green. And they all said, oh yeah, great idea,
Yeah.
Former professional athlete, and so let's reach out. So they called me and said, hey, what would you think about writing a book for Jeter Publishing? And I said, well, yeah, I'm interested. And they said, what would you think about co-authoring a book with Derek Jeter? And I said, tell me when.
Yeah, right.
What do you want to do? So they said to me, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I said, I thought about it, and I thought about how kids love the Football Genius series. It's a New York Times bestselling series, and it sold about 1 million copies.
Wow.
There's 6 books in that series. And I said, I think part of the reason kids love that series, even if they're not sports fans, because so many of my readers aren't sports fans.
Right.
A lot are, but is because I take them into the world of the NFL. It's in a story where there's 3 main character kids, 2 guys and a girl, and the character has this special ability that causes him to interact and be a part of the NFL.
Right.
So I said, why don't we do that same kind of concept? Let's do it in baseball. And because I know nothing about the life of a major league player or any of the the real baseball stuff, I said, Derek's got a treasure trove of knowledge and experiences. And I said to him the first time I met him, I said, look, I can write a really good book. I know I can. And just, you can put your name on it and whatever.
Right.
I said, but if you will work with me and really collaborate and take ownership of the main character and, take ownership of what it's like behind the scenes, in the locker room, in the players' lounge, out on the field, what it looks like, smells like, feels like, sounds like. I can take that and we're gonna have an amazing story.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm all in,
Yeah.
and we really had a lot of fun working on it together.
So how did you guys work together? Did you do it a lot by just emails or stuff like that, or
a lot of emails, and then periodic phone calls, in person every once in a while, so yeah, a lot of back and forth, and it was fun. He really didn't want the cameo scene with himself in it. He said, Tim, I don't want it to be about me. He's very humble, and I said, yeah, but I said, this is me. I mean, this experience of meeting you is something that, everyone wants to meet Derek Jeter.
Sure.
And I said, we kids are going to be able to meet you and know what it's like in just this one little scene, and it really fits in the book. It's got a really special place.
Yeah. So I was wondering about the dialogue in that one little scene. Did Derek help, or did you just, because you'd talked to him so many times, what he talks like and what he would say and that sort of thing.
No, well, he tinkered with
did he?
the dialogue on that.
Yeah, right.
He was, but I was pretty close.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, you know what? You talked about the premise, of Football Genius, and in that, the boy named Troy. After you have a son named Troy, right?
Yeah.
he can predict the plays that are
Right.
going to be happening in a professional football game. And this is a similar premise, a little
Yeah.
bit of the same, where Jalen can predict what the next pitch will be.
Yes.
Which and looking at that and knowing, you have the knowledge of professional football, and having Derek have that knowledge of professional baseball. Did you ever ask Derek or even yourself about, have you ever known anybody who could sort of have that innate sense of knowing how to predict any of these
Well, that's a great question. First of all, I want to say this, that as Troy and Tate were my kids who were the main characters, Jalen is Derek's nephew.
That's right. I read
who
that.
who is this adorable 5-year-old kid. I mean, he's the cutest kid on the planet. And I've met him throughout all this. Actually went to a baseball game with him and his mom at Yankee Stadium and my young son. And but the notion of being able to predict the next pitch, first of all, people do try to predict with computer programs, and also teams try, if they can, to steal the signals to figure out, And my question to Derek was, I said, would that really help? I mean, to me, you've got 100-mile-an-hour fastball or an 84-mile-an-hour curveball. I can't hit either one. If I know it's coming all day, I can't hit that. But he said, he was unequivocal. He said, if a batter knows the pitch, he said, you're going to get a hit every time. And I was really excited about that.
Yeah, sure.
So I took the concept that we had in Football Genius of a kid who loves the sport and is also off the charts mathematical genius in school, and in both cases they're boys who don't really want to be known for that. They don't want that to come out. They're almost embarrassed by this special intellect that they have, which I think is true in a lot of cases. People who are that smart sometimes try to hide it. And so they it transfers to the sport.
Right. So Jalen DeLuca is the name of the main character, and you said he's you got the name Jalen from Derek Jeter's nephew. But is Jalen based on anybody, or is he a composite, or because you always talk about your own kids or maybe their friends or things like that?
So no, I think Jalen is. I think he's a kid character of my imagination, but I think Derek's imprint on the character makes him, there's a lot he has in common with Derek, and I think the decision to make him be, biracial was a conscious one, and there's a little of that prejudice that Derek experienced as a kid that comes out in the book. It's not overwhelming, and it's kind of subtle, but I felt that was an important part of to really bring it to life.
Sure. And I love his dad. He's an Italian immigrant.
Now his dad is based on a guy verbatim. There is a Fabio that I know.
Oh.
He's bald. He cooks. He's everything. It's funny because I saw I can't remember. There was a reviewer. I don't know if it was Kirkus or some snarky review, and it was a good review. But they said something. They alluded to this cheesy, or fake or cheesy Italian accent, and I'm like, they know nothing. They have no idea what they're talking about, because I didn't invent that accent. this is a guy I
know
eat
this guy.
at his
That's the way he
restaurant
talks.
all the time. He's become a friend of our family, and I'm around him all the time, and that's how he speaks.
Right, yeah.
So,
which is great, great.
Yeah.
And you know what I always love about all your books is that you have great girl characters.
Oh, yeah.
And this is no exception. With Kat's
one of the
a
best,
great character
right?
in this, and then also Jalen's other friend, Daniel. But you always have strong girl characters.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
We did Derek and I did the CBS morning show, and Gail King, she went right, she gravitated right towards Kat, and she said, you know, oh, I love Kat. She's either going to be president or a talk show host or a sports agent.
Well, Tim, you know, the great thing too about all your middle grade novels for kids is that there always is a bit of a moral dilemma in all of them. And in this one, you know, Jalen is trying to get enough money so he can still play baseball with his traveling team, right? But he gets in trouble because he goes into a professional baseball player's house to steal some baseballs.
Yeah.
But he's caught, right?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Spoiler. Right?
I know, spoiler. So you know, if you're listening to this, it's a spoiler. Watch out. Watch out. But the rest of the story, we're not going to say what happens. But
right.
This is really, really interesting because he knows he knew this was wrong, but he loves baseball so much, right?
Yeah.
And
so it's one of those forgivable crimes, and he goes through also for, you know, the reader. He goes through this rationalization, and he's right, because as you're reading it, you're like, yeah, because the guy's got these baseballs that he, you know, and he signs them and he bangs them around his batting cage, and then they sell them for $100, and all the money goes to this foundation, and the purpose of the foundation is to help kids who don't have money buy equipment, pay for fees, do all this stuff. Yeah. And he goes through the right channels, and he applies, and he calls, and he writes, and he keeps getting back these kind of impersonal replies. And he's like, he's running out of time, so he has to help the player help him. Right. Which ultimately, you know, everyone who reads it knows it's like, yeah, of course, but at the same time, he knows, and we know as readers that you still can't do that.
So this player, his name is James J.Y. Yager. So anybody, now did you and Derek talk about who is the DNA of this player, where his origins come from?
No, he's like, he's a composite, you know, again, it's kind of my interpretation of a pro athlete with Derek's influence on top of it, because again, that's where you know, some things in the story, like the interaction with the kids in school and things like that, you know, he really let me, you know, I had free reign, but you know, the closer it got to the Yankees and baseball and Jalen, you know, his own personal experiences, the more Derek was, you know, really involved in it. Right. So, you know, JY is definitely a creation, a co-creation.
Right. You know, the way you talk about, you know, reading and how important it is and developing those lifelong readers. And now that it's been over 10 years since that first book came out, those kids are now adults. They're probably even out of college. Yeah. And you have created, and I can guarantee you, all those kids that love those books when they started with them are now lifelong readers. Yeah. And how important that is. And I was always wondering why you chose middle grade, you know, that sweet spot, that 4th to 7th or 8th grade reader. Yeah. Because I've always felt, as a bookseller and talking to teachers and people, that you keep them reading through that age, you got them for life.
Yeah.
So
I didn't choose it. It chose me.
Ah, okay.
I was very happy writing my suspense novels, and you know, they were going up and up and up in the sales, and I had a really nice career going there. And I got a call out of the blue, just like from the Jeter people, and by Barbara Lalecki from HarperCollins. Right. She was the creative director. She's retired since, but and she was my editor, and she said, you know, I love your writing. I love the action, the chapters, the page turners, not only the male characters, the female characters. She said, you know, I really like that. And with your background, I just thought, wow, we could set your stories in the world of sports, make them for kids, about kids. And that's exactly how she pitched it to me. She said, we're going to create readers.
Yeah.
And I had read a lot of middle grade books aloud to my kids at night, stories. And, you know, I would read books like Holes or Ella Enchanted and sure. or Bud Not Buddy. And in the back of my mind, as I would read to my kids, I was always thinking, you know, this would be fun.
Right.
So when all of a sudden it just came to me, I was like, it's meant to be. And the idea for Football Genius just popped right into my head.
Yeah.
And it was easy and fun to write. And I pulled my kids in as characters. I got them to help me. We had fun. And then all of a sudden, it went right on the list.
Right.
So I was off and running. And then they said, you know, can you do another sport? At the time, I was coaching Little League Baseball. And I said, how about baseball? They said, great. I wrote baseball. Great. That went on the bestseller list.
Right. Yeah.
So I was off and running. And then I started on my first couple tours speaking at schools. And I realized how powerful my message was about the importance of education, the importance of character and kindness, how reading makes us better in those ways, but reading is supposed to be fun. And that's a message you hear a lot of places, but from someone who dreamed of being an NFL player, played in the NFL, lived that dream out, and now is back to report that school and kindness and reading are all more important than that.
Right. And I love your website, and you say for kids. And it talks about all those character things, and you tell them about that. Because you have lived it, and you've been that, you know, talking about friendship and family and generosity and giving back and you know, your schoolwork, but also sports. But all those different things that make you a really rounded person that's pointing in that perseverance you always talk about too. So you have lived that, and it's so great that you are passing that on to kids. And like you say, you know, empathy is so important, and by reading fiction for kids and adults, we all learn empathy. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now I want to tell us a little bit about the NFL Play 60, and now you have added the Read for 20, and you've done a couple events with the Chicago Bears here. And tell us about that, because I think, and I know you've done it with some other NFL teams, but it'd be great if it became part of it for the entire NFL.
I do too. That was my idea when I went to the NFL. So I didn't really know about Read 20, and there's no formal organization called Read 20, but there's a real strong grassroots movement among educators across the country, and I learned it by traveling across the country, cities, rural areas, suburbia, rich, poor, you know, black, white, everything in between. And everywhere I went, the better schools were espousing read 20 minutes a day.
Right.
So I thought, read 20, the NFL has Play 60. I see the power of the reading message from a former professional athlete. What if it came from a current? That would be even better.
Right.
So I went to the league, and they said, yeah, okay, we'll let you do it. So I did it with the Bears and the Giants the first year. They said, let's test it. Yeah. Next year I did, 2 more teams. Last year we did Bears, Giants, Falcons, Cowboys, Broncos, Patriots. and it's starting to spread, but the league itself isn't embracing it, but the teams are.
Oh, that's great.
The teams are, yeah. So I just have to decide how many places I want to go during the fall.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tim, you have been to I don't know how many schools now over the years since you started writing.
About 1,200.
Oh my gosh! And how many kids does that represent?
About 600,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And you still love it.
I do. I love it. I was at a school, 2 schools today.
Yeah. Right.
And the second school, the first school, I love seeing those kids' faces.
Yeah.
I love it. I love seeing their smiles and their interest. And, I give every kid a homework assignment. Mm-hmm. I say, in the next 24 hours, I want you to find someone different than you and do or say something kind to them. And, a lot of kids do it. And it's fun.
Yeah. Well, look what an influence. That is so cool. I love the cover. I want to tell you that I love this cover. I love the reflection in the glasses. It is so cool on this. And so I want to know what's coming next for you and Derek Jeter. So.
Okay.
So tell us what this is.
So when we wrote Baseball Genius, that was, they said, let's see how it goes. It went well. I know Derek enjoyed working with me. I enjoyed working with him. Everyone loves the book. And so they said, okay, let's do at least 2 more.
Okay. So at least
we
a
got
trilogy,
a contract.
right?
Yeah. So, and then after that, who knows? So we're most of the way through. I think it's going to be called Double Play, and we're almost done with that.
Okay. Wow.
And then after that, I don't know, but Jalen and Kat and Daniel
will
are
be
all
back
back
in this one. Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
so this will be out maybe a year from now then, Double
Yep.
Play?
A
Okay,
year.
fantastic. So we'll have at least, we got to have at least 3. At least.
Yeah,
Okay.
there'll be
Okay.
a third.
Okay, fantastic. And I do want to tell you, I'm sorry about the Falcons and the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh, let's not talk about it.
I know. Okay. But I am so sorry because I was thinking about you, and I was rooting for them. I wanted to.
Yeah. But what a wonderful problem to have. If that's the worst thing that happens to you, your team loses in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean,
but having been a player for a number of years,
Yeah,
that had to be tough. So,
It was fine.
Okay. Well, Tim, thanks so much. And
Thank
congratulations on Baseball
you.
Genius.
Thanks,
It
Becky.
is absolutely wonderful, and we can't wait for the next one. So come back. You have to come back.
You own me.
All right.
Right?
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You were there at the beginning, and
that was an easy thing to do, believe me.
I really appreciate it. I love your bookstore. I love you. Everything you do. It's fabulous.
Well, it's easy when we have authors like you that are so
we're a
dedicated
team,
to
right?
That's right. All
Good.
right. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Becky.
Great conversation with New York Times best-selling author Tim Green. His 19th book for middle grade kid readers. It's called Baseball Genius. And this one he co-authored with Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees. Thanks for joining me on Authors Reveal.